Mitra, always great to have you with us on the show. Now, certainly a lot is going on right now in South Africa's mining sector. And I'd like to start off with this latest news that output from the sector shrank at the tail end of this year. What exactly is driving this decline? Give us a look into the numbers.
Well, essentially, Uche, it's a combination of factors. Mining production is nowhere where it once was. So the mines are very deep, and over time, these mines get older. It becomes so much harder to mine. There's also high operating costs, and even though we had a more stable power supply for the better part of last year, electricity costs are becoming very expensive. It's a huge expense. And of course, there's also the issue with logistics. Now, we had Transnet, the ports crisis. Transnet has been struggling to address many of these challenges. The ports were in an absolute mess last year. Many of the railway lines also in a very poor condition. Getting supplies to the mines took longer. And there was also too many delays in getting minerals out to shore for export. And when you look at the export markets, China has been slowing down. There's also been subdued demand from a number of other countries. So mining itself is just not looking great, but there is some upside on the horizon. Once everything settles down, we have more stable power supply at this point. But these are some of the factors that actually drag down mining overall in the year last year. Uche?
But what about illegal mining? Because that has also come to the fore this past year. We saw the Stilfontein crackdown going on. How significant was this tragedy for the sector?
Well, it's terrible, especially for those looking in. Investors don't like to see these kind of issues. Illegal mining is not new in South Africa. It's been going on for many years, and it seems to be getting worse. It's like a whole underground industry on its own. Here's a mining sector that's constantly working on upholding safety standards while you have people dying in unused mines that were closed off for that very same reason. Once a mine reaches its lifespan, it has to be shut down. And it often, this takes a bit of time, and it's often too deep or too dangerous to continue operations there. Now, you also allowing for this illegal activity to happen if there's not enough safety, if there's not enough measures put in place to ensure that while it takes time to actually completely close off that mine, if you don't have all of this in place, then you're going to have this problem. So you almost have a thriving underground industry here. And if you're an investor looking in, it just does not bode well for the sector or for the government or for the entire country, Uche.
Well, looking forward to, Mitra, are we going to see significant shifts, and especially in policy going forward? And given that the mining ministry did say illegal mining, for example, has cost the country over $3 billion last year, will we see this issue significantly impacting mining policy going forward?
That's a tough one because we don't know how how the minister is going to look at it going forward. So if you look at the current policy, South Africa doesn't recognize these miners as artisanal miners like most other countries do. Where these artisanal miners are recognized, their contribution is also recognized, their contribution to the economy. Now, South Africa sees this as illicit trade and is now also being seen, and that's being seen as a threat to international security because there's currently no legal way to be an artisanal miner in South Africa. So mining legislation only allows for large-scale mining. So you have to have a certain amount of area space. Depending on how many hectares you have to have a permit, and you have to meet a whole lot of conditions in order to mine. So if you're going underground and if you're doing any of this, they don't see it as small-scale mining, they don't see it as artisanal mining. So there's, policy doesn't allow for any of that. Whether they're going to change it, it seems highly unlikely. We even, looking at statistics, the World Gold Council said that as much as 20% of all gold supply and 80% of gold mining employment actually comes from a supply chain that's controlled by criminal gangs, syndicates, armed groups, really corrupt activities and corrupt governments as well. So mining is really complex, and when you look at illegal mining or illicit trade or artisanal mining, all of this just makes it all very complicated. How South Africa is going to deal with this going forward is going to be very interesting to watch, because it has been trying to manage this policy for many years already, and it hasn't come out. It hasn't, been at a stage where everyone is happy. There's always somebody that's unhappy in this situation, and you find issues like this, where you have an illicit trade, you have a whole underground industry thriving, and you trying to control it.
Well, Sumitra will certainly be watching, and it's always great to have your insights with us on the show. That is Sumitra Naidu joining us there in Johannesburg.